Hey, welcome to Guitar Knobs, the guitars, gear, noise, and nonsense podcast, hosted today by these knobs.
Tony Dudzik, pick guardian.
Jared Brandon Wound, pickups.
Hey, everybody, it's me, Todd Novak. Welcome to the Guitar Knobs podcast. We've got a special one today. We've got a return friend that we reached out to just in the nick of time, and he's going to tell you why. Friend, who are you?
Joe Halliday, Hello Sailor Effects.
Hey,
right
Hello,
on.
Sailor.
Ahoy.
You were a... Okay, so can you explain to the audience why this was in the nick of time?
Well, I'm in the military. I've been in the Navy for about 18 years. I don't want to count, maybe too many. And we're just about to go on deployment somewhere out far east for about 8 or 9 months. So if we didn't squeeze this in now, I'd have been away at sea.
Wow. So France?
France, yeah.
18 years. So does, do you guys do 20 year and you retire?
22.
Oh, okay. You guys have a couple more years than us Yankees over here.
I've got an American guy working for me at the minute. He's because we can't fund our own Navy, so we have to have you guys come over.
Cheap labor.
So we've got this American guy on board, and he's done less time as me, but he's got a little bit less to do than me, so he likes to rub that in.
Yeah.
No, I'm sure.
So do you have to work really hard not to become like admiral or commander or whatever? 20 years, geez.
You have to be posh to be able to get that far up.
Still class system style, yeah.
Well, it's not so much a class system. It's more like if you go to university and you speak properly, you can go officer. But for us, we go through the non-commissioned ranks. I'm one away from as far as I can go.
Oh my goodness!
That's me.
I see.
I don't know what you guys have in it. I think it's chief in your Navy. Or
I'm sure, hopefully, hey, we'd love to hear from anybody actually in the Navy in whatever country you're listening to. Chime in and give our pal Joe a shout out when this comes out, or any old time. Just say hi.
Well, while you're on that subject, after the last show, a guy got hold of me. He was in the Canadian Navy. He's a lieutenant. He was just leaving. He'd done his full time. I don't know what that full time was, and he ordered a free range with his specific picture on in his ship's colours and all this stuff that tied him to the Navy. And when we got talking many years ago, when I was on board HMS Montrose, we saved a Canadian submarine with another ship, the St. John's, who was a Canadian ship. We went out and 2 guys died. They were stranded at sea. And it turns out he was saving on this other ship at the time.
Oh,
so,
wow.
It's a small world.
I know. How random.
So, ladies and gentlemen, we are very excited. We're going to talk to our pal Joe from Hello Sailor Effects, one of the most colorful pedal builders out there. And I don't just mean in the, your aesthetic approach. I think you just, I think it's fair to say you are, as you like to say, having a laugh at yourself to a certain degree with the things that you're building.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And that resonates. That makes people feel good, So we're going to talk to Joe. He's been on the show before. You can go listen to that previous episode. It's episode 144. And that's when we first got introduced to Joe. We had a great episode then. We're going to have another one now. We're going to talk to him. He's been very busy really evolving, I would say, probably your entire approach to your pedals and into some new equipment. So we're going to dig all into that. Right, Joe?
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, I get bored really easy, so I've got to change it up,
Yeah, yeah. I've got some questions about that whole being bored and how you're doing stuff when we get there. But all right, let's. We got a couple of announcements real quick. So we're going to say thanks to Rode Mics for providing the Rodecaster Pro, this lovely machine that is making this podcast happen, as well as the Procaster mics and these. Well, my articulating arm, I've got 3 empty ones here, which is very sad. But Jared and Tony are off in their own homes practicing. It's hard not to say this with a smirk, but practicing safe podcasting. So, yeah. And anyway, so thank you so much to Rode for providing that stuff. And again, as we mentioned before, most of us who are listening to this show are involved in some sort of audio capture, or even, doing videos, some video work and some of your own camera work in your homes. I mean, people are really mobilizing on that effort, and they make some of the absolute best gear to capture audio for those circumstances. So make sure you check them out.
Thanks, Rode.
And then we also, Joe, where can people check out what you're making as they're listening along?
Mainly Instagram, but also if you check out hellosailoreffects.com, you'll see a few of the things that I've built up that are ready for purchase.
Yeah. I will say that your Instagram is a far better representation at this point. If you're just breaking into Hello Sailor stuff, then that's gonna give you the best understanding of everything that Joe's doing in his world. As is you're busy making pedals, not managing a website. So I get that,
Yeah.
So, all right, Tony or Jared, do you guys have any announcements real quick?
I do not have any announcements. Jared, do you have any announcements?
I don't. Not pertaining to announcement worthy.
When's the next episode of Rewinds with Jared?
I know. I got to drop one. I've been, I got to drop an episode. I will. In fact, maybe I will during this podcast.
What? Yeah, right.
Nice.
Kidding.
How's that make you feel, Joe?
Yeah,
I know.
Well, I'll tell you now, you dropped the first one right at the wrong time, and I'll get to that on my things that I've been up to.
Okay. Good.
I was kidding, right?
Yeah.
It was a kidney shot.
All right. Let's get on to what's going on in our music worlds this week. We're going to head on over to Tony Baloney's house and find out what he's doing, and then we'll check in with Joe.
Sure. Well, this week, just like many other weeks, I've been busy playing catch up in the shop and starting to make some headway. Feeling a little bit better about that. But I did want to go back a couple episodes ago. We were talking about the Dan Electro Longhorn. Yeah. And I promised to give you an update on that. So I'd like to do that now, if I may.
Yeah.
So the original Longhorn series, it's the solid body version, ran from 1958 until 1966. After that, they contracted with a Japanese company, believe it was Kawai, to make a choral version, but it was a semi-hollow version. But the one thing I wanted to talk about on the original Longhorn series is they actually made 3 different models. One was a 4-string bass, one was a 6-string bass, and then the one that is the most intriguing to me was a double course. They called it a guitarlin. So it actually had 31 frets. So you could play it.
That's what that is. I saw the guitar and I'm like, wait, what the heck?
So you could play it so it actually had, like a double, I would call it a double course. I guess if you wanted to, you could capo at the 12th and play it like a mandolin or, a 6-string mandolin. But that was one of the reasons they went with that, the super scooped out horn design. But it's as some people would call it ugly as it was actually kind of a practical instrument. And as I was going through my
2x4 would have been better looking.
Now, come on. Well,
I often think I need more frets.
But I just thought that I would share that with our listeners. And I knew that the guitar version definitely had some extended range, but I forgot that it was this extended.
Yeah. What's funny is after we did have that episode, I was casually just thumbing through my, I think it's called 2000 Guitars or something like that. One of these big giant coffee table books as everybody was getting ready for bed, and I was thumbing through it. And then that's when I saw that guitarlin, and I was like, wait, is it not the long? What? And there wasn't enough of an explanation to tell exactly what that was. It's kind of that book. It's like they just give you a little bit, but
Yeah, but I mean, even like, when they had the 6-string bass, that was a relatively new concept.
Yeah.
I mean, Fender's bass 6 didn't really come out until, the mid to late 60s.
And people are still trying to figure out what to do with it.
Yeah.
Like John Lennon played it, and that's all that needed to happen.
Yeah.
People are going to buy it.
Yeah.
There
Too true. All right. Thanks, Tony. As always, you provide the bulk of encyclopedic wisdom for the show, which
I provide the meat, not the muscle.
That's right. Okay. Joe, get us out of that.
Right, so this week I've had absolutely loads going on. Firstly, I got in touch with Demodash Effects, so Steve Demodash. I don't know if you guys have had him on the show, right?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so he wants to do a pedal swap. I send him a few bits, he sends me a few bits, which is great. So I packed him up a fuzz, a tone bender fuzz and a Kossoff drive, and I received the pedals from him this week, and oh my God, I should have sent him more. Yeah. So he sent me out a 112 Plus drive, Spadola fuzz, and a T120 Deluxe, because I've got the T120 delay. Oh my God, his pedals are unreal.
Yeah.
Like the packaging, the quality of the pedals, the sounds. Like that 112 drive, you can't make it sound bad.
No.
You can set it anywhere you like, and it just sounds amazing. So I took them this week, and they just blew my mind. Especially that the 112 drive is real good at that clean, always on, like what most people would use a clone for.
Yeah. And you can also like really push it like big time.
Oh, definitely. And the Spadola fuzz, that thing, I weren't ready for that. That took my head off. Absolutely unreal. But yeah.
And it's
even
super nice guy too.
Oh yeah, it's such a nice guy. So maybe 2 years ago, a bit longer, Steve got hold of me and asked me to join a Discord group that there's a couple of builders in and what have you. And he sent me a link, and I just could not make it work because I'm a technophobe. And so if you're listening, Steve, I'm really sorry I haven't forgot about that. And I just never joined. I tried to get my 12-year-old to help me, and he couldn't do it. I was like, no, I'm not doing it. So, we got there in the end. I hope he really likes his fuzz, because I feel like I sold him short with that one.
I just love that you guys are doing that. That's fantastic. And, you are absolutely right. Those pedals are pretty special. It's kind of one of those weird things. Some people turn out pedals just like, here's another pedal, here's another pedal, here's another pedal. And there's some builders that are like, I make these and I make them really, really well. And yeah, he's going to develop some new stuff, but he's had those on the market for a while, but they're still like ridiculous. And every time someone new runs into them, they run around the neighborhood going, oh my God, check this out. So that says a lot about those pedals.
He's a very talented guy, and it's all a lot of the T120 is all in micro components. What are the SMT? They scare me. No thanks.
Yeah,
but yeah.
That you guys are literally on the polar opposite of the spectrum of your approach to building.
Yeah, definitely. And another cool fact is the T120 he sent me, the serial number is like 1,500. So I never thought about serial numbers on my one. So I had a look, and I've got number 77, which isn't too bad.
Yeah.
So I got an early one as well. So I'll be keeping that, I think.
Oh, that's fantastic. Very cool, man. Very cool. Well, shout out to Steve Demodash for that one. Yeah,
thanks, Steve. Also, I had a little bid on eBay. There's a guy selling a 4P Effects early Tone Bender Mark III. It had no markings on it. It was just, a case with some knobs on and what have you. And no one was really bidding on it. And I think because there's no proof that Adrian Thorpe built it. And I was like, well, at worst case, I'm going to get a Tone Bender Mark III to mod, make it look good and sell on. So I bought it and took some pictures and sent them to Adrian and just said, did you happen to make this by any chance? And he was like, yeah, that's an early one. And the transistors are really good. And I was like, yes. Thank you, God. I'll take that.
Yeah, that's a big score right there, right?
Well, that's another one that's probably going to be with me forever. I need to get hold of him, actually, and ask him if he'll sign the front, because I'm an absolute fanboy.
He'd be great to get on the show.
Oh, you really should. What a guy. I mean, talking about me in the military, that guy was a bomb disposal major. So he's like well up the ranks, a major bond-disposed expert.
Oh, wow.
He's basically harder than a coffin nail.
No, wow.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, I think, and he's probably the size of Jared as well. I met him at the London International Guitar Show, and what a nice guy, but he's a big fella.
Oh, man.
Let's maybe we can connect after the show, and we can get some connections on how to get them.
I want to go to the London International Guitar Show.
I know, right?
Oh, it was my first show as a vendor, and I bought me Melody Maker. It was just an amazing day. What a good day.
Heck yeah.
When does that occur?
I think it's October time.
Oh, all right.
The Birmingham Guitar Show is better, I might add.
Really?
I think that's February times. It is better. It's bigger, a lot bigger.
The bigger, the better, of course.
Yeah, I would. If you're going to come over for it, I would definitely say Birmingham's better.
Wow.
Wouldn't that be fun, guys? If we could do
all
that,
you had to say.
Yeah.
It would be expensive, but I don't care.
Oh,
I'd love to go.
We could all get together, go out for drinks. Hopefully, COVID will be over, and we can.
Yeah.
I love that idea. I love that.
Definitely up for that.
Careful, guys. He might try to Shanghai us, and then we'll be really screwed.
He got his signing bonus.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So let's see here. Jared, how about yourself?
Oh, yes. It has been very exciting. A week of musical stuff that is not pickup related. So I have had this recording set up for not quite a year, and I talked about it before. So I have this Focusrite, and there's a way to plug it into the iPad to use GarageBand, so you can share files with your friends. And Mike's writing more music, and I've been doing music with him for decades, and so we have a lot of fun with that. He sends me over this new stuff, and I go to hook up my Focusrite to my iPad, and I'm like, it's not working. It's like the iPad keeps telling me, you don't have enough power for the Focusrite. And well, gosh, even before that,
Is that the voice it has?
It when you read it, that's the voice that comes up in your head. But even before all this, I had to download the new version of GarageBand. It was just, I'm like, why do I have to download all this stuff? And it was just, I'm not used to that Apple technology where you have to, if you don't download the latest, you're screwed, So I finally did all that, plugged the Focusrite in, said it didn't have enough power. And I'm just scratching my head. I'm like, this is the same setup. And I suffered for a while. I got mad and pouted. And then I read on the internet. That's what you do when you can't figure it out. You go on the internet. And I read that you have to have the exact right charger to make this work. You have to have the charger the same charger that comes with the iPad itself. Mm-hmm. Oh. And I just looked all over the house for that. And I think I left it at Mike's. And Mike's 2.5 hours away. So I'm like, well, so stopped by Tony Baloney's yesterday to sign some things. And then I went to the old Target, and got me, they had, I was lucky. They had the right things there. So I got the charger and got home, and boom, it worked. Back in business. Yeah. I'd never suffered in, it was so, like, I didn't know you had to be so exact and so, I don't know, technically correct to make this stuff work.
Well, sometimes Apple is a little persnickety.
It is. That's the exact word I was thinking.
Mm-hmm. Somehow I doubt that.
Here. Yeah, I think he was going to go with not good.
Right. But anyway, hey man, I'm back in business and getting my guitars out again and playing again, and it feels good, man.
Good.
Yeah.
Outstanding.
You have to send us some links to some of the finished product when you have it done.
Okay.
Indeed, Aroni.
You, Todd.
How about you, Todd?
Well, mine is kind of semi-guitar related. I've mentioned on the show many times, I put out an album in 2020 that quite literally the week of when the whole world went to hell in the handbag.
That's right.
Yeah.
And then so we hit the e-brake on that, and then we waited. We were like, what do we do? And then we said, screw it, let's put it out anyways. So in follow-up for that, and as we're preparing new material, I just wanted to give another boost of adrenaline to the work that we've done. And so I said, okay, I'm going to put out some IGTV videos for each of these songs. I'm not a videographer, and there's no video actually involved. I'm essentially making a motion graphics thing to hopefully hold the interest while you're listening. When you hear new music today, unless you listen to it several times, one of the reasons that we end up connecting with the song is because we can find a story, or we can find our imagination at work. So this is an effort to try to do that. So I was sitting there trying to work on this, and I'm a little bit out of my element. I've done some things in Premiere Pro, but not a ton. So I spent more time trying to, figure out how to cobble the stuff together and less finessing. But now I think I've got a formula that is going to work out really well. So I'm excited to put that out. Well, anyways, that is our music world this week. Now,
How about this?
Thanks, Tony.
1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4 on the floor.
Hey, Jared,
Yes, Tony.
would you believe that our buddy Joe here has never tried Tour Gear Design's patch cables?
kidding? Wow, man, he's missing out because they are awesome little tiny cables.
They're wonderful things, and they're flat, and they're very dependable, and very, how would you say?
Affordable.
Affordable. That's one. But I was thinking of the thing with they have the opposite, the S shape, the snake cable.
Yeah,
type
they
thing.
come in different shapes and sizes.
And sizes.
They all fit anywhere on the pedal, no matter what. I mean, that's my favorite part about these. They fit anywhere. You know, the other patch cables you buy, they don't fit everywhere in the power thing, and it's just a tight squeeze. Not these. These fit everywhere.
Yep. And, you would think that something like that great would be very expensive, but it's not.
Mm-mm.
Oh, my goodness. They are so affordable. And I think Todd has a message about that.
That's right. If you go to tourgeardesigns.com/discount/the guitar knobs, you are going to get 10% off your entire order. And they ship mighty fast, and they are all hand tested to make sure that they actually work. These are outstanding pieces of equipment, and we are very happy and proud to share that with everybody. So that's tourgeardesigns.com/discount/the guitar knobs. Save 10% on a whole bunch of these cables, because you're not going to get one. You're gonna go like, I should just grab a bunch of these.
Just get a bunch.
Sold. Take my money now.
Yeah. All right. We got affirmation from Joe. So thanks, Tour Gear, for making a fantastic product. Joe, we're gonna hear your 4 on the floor right now. Are you ready?
Yeah.
All right. This is part due. This is the second 4 on the floor. So now you're gonna have 8 on the floor.
Yeah, he's got a Super 8.
Yes.
I'm cheating.
All right. Let's do it.
Okay, so my 4 on the floor starts with number 1, the Kingsley Peasant. I don't know if you guys have heard of Jared from Kingsley Pedals.
I'm not familiar with that one. Todd?
No.
He's an English guy who lives out in Canada, and he actually builds amplifiers, Kingsley amplifiers.
Okay.
But he's branched out into valve-driven pedals, or tube-driven pedals for you guys. And the Peasant is a new one, but it's basically a Rangemaster sound, only with a valve in there, and you know how much I love the Rangemaster. So it kind of interacts with your guitar's pickups, so it's very impedance sensitive. Just a great pedal all around.
What valve is in there?
12AX7.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Basic preamp.
But it's running at high voltage as well. The thing draws 500 milliamps, but it's running at 300 volts DC inside.
Wow.
So it's a proper valve pedal, not a valve caster 9-volt.
Probably not a good idea to pour a beer on it.
Oh,
No, it's built like a tank. Let me tell you. So I used to have a Kingsley Maiden, which is a preamp, like a Dumble inspired preamp, and I sold it after building my own amplifiers. Like, and now I can't get another one in the UK, and there's a wait list.
Wow.
So what a mistake. But yeah, they're great pedals.
yeah. What's weird is that nobody is bothering to actually tag this person in any of their photos.
He's not on Instagram, which is the
that's the problem then. Yes, boy, how are you?
Yeah,
that's.
But he's got a waiting list as long as your arm. You can't get hold of them. And the pedals secondhand are selling for maybe £100 more than what they're retailing for.
Wow!
So
Awesome.
I'm not letting go of this one. I got it for Christmas. It's staying with me.
That's
I say that all the
fantastic.
time.
Don't you like when you get a piece of equipment and you're like, I don't care what happens. I am never getting rid of this.
Oh, all the time.
Isn't that great? That last one that you built there, that's probably number one. So
Well, I'm looking
thanks
at
very
it.
much.
I'm looking at a photo of the peasant, and man, that's a kind of a tiny pedal.
Well, it's kind of normal pedal size. So like the MXR Phase 100. It's the same size as that.
Okay, yeah,
Oh, that's not bad.
Usually, like anything that has tubes or valves is usually on a much larger case.
No, I have that pedal, the Phase 100. It's not too big.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, there's a picture of the pedal in someone's hand, and it looks
So-
not quite a handful.
let's talk about really quick. You mentioned this is a tube-driven pedal, right?
Yep.
Maybe you can give us a understanding of, because there's several out there. Like Wampler makes one, the Chandler tube drive. Like there's all kinds of tube-driven effects. What is the real benefit or drawback from one of those?
Well, tubes are real old technology, aren't they? I mean, guitar pedals and guitar gear is all driven by industry, isn't it? So if you think we use tubes for everything, I mean, in the military, all of our comms units used to be tubes and stuff like that. And it's just outdated, so it doesn't react as quick. So you get sag or how to explain. It's just a different technology.
Yeah.
It's the different. I mean, if you're talking about an amplifier, like for example, a tube rectifier, you're going to get less voltage out of it. It's going to react a bit slower to your playing. So when you don't get the sag when you dig in, or you do get the sag, sorry, when you dig in.
Mm-hmm.
And then if you're using diode rectification, you're going to get that power instantly. So it's kind of like in your face. There's no way to explain it other than buzzwords on tone. It just gives it a more organic feel under the fingers for me.
Gotcha.
And there's a difference between running it at 9 volts. If you're running it at 9 volts, the valve itself or the tube is not actually doing all that much. It needs the higher voltage, definitely. These pedals actually take 9 volts because they've got a voltage doubler, tripler, whatever inside built in, so it boosts the voltage up, and it takes 500 milliamps, which isn't all that much, to be fair. So fantastic bit of it. I've been looking at doing a valve pedal myself, and that's the benchmark. It's something that I'll never get up to that. He's been working with valves a long time, so
Yeah.
I'm actually looking at all the bits in front of me now, thinking maybe I'll get into that soon.
That would be really funny to see the end result of that. And I say funny because the kind of parts that you are known to use. What is this going to be like?
Bolt on a full power transformer on the top of it.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So what's number 2?
Number 2 is the R2R Electric Rangemaster. You heard of this, Chris Vincent?
I have. I just did a 1 minute wonder on it.
Oh my god!
The demo.
Well,
And he's going to be on one of our upcoming episodes too, right?
Yep.
Oh, I can't wait for that one. So I found him quite a while ago. I'm going to say 2 years, maybe not, on Reverb. Now, my pedal didn't cost me anywhere near what they're selling for now, thankfully. I got in there early, and I've got a OC44 version. It's got Sprague Black Beauty caps in it, or Sprague Black Beauty caps. Fantastic pedal. And I measure all of my Rangemasters next to it. Before I send them out, I'll play both of them. And, that's the benchmark. If I can get somewhere in the ballpark of that, I'm happy. It is a great pedal.
The thing that really impressed me about that pedal was that the multi-stop tone switch on the back side of it.
Yeah, so I've done a few of them myself. It's just instead of having a 3-way switch for your input capacitor, like I do on my Range Masters, it's a rotary 6-position. I've done a few fuzzers with them as well. Real good idea, and the way you wires it, it's a work of art inside. I nearly never put the back on it. If it weren't for the fact I wanted to put it on my board, I'd have left the back off just to look at it. I mean, I was showing a wife, like, look at this, and she's like, what? It's just like, no clue.
Yeah.
Oh,
and then you showed her the pedal.
Yeah. Ding. Yeah, no, real good pedals, work of art inside now. And there's some big players, like I think Jared James Nichols is playing them now, and unbelievable.
Man.
I'm looking forward to that episode.
Now, is yours the amp top?
No, mine's just a normal pedal. It's a smaller enclosure size with the range control and then the input capacitor clicky switch.
Yeah, gotcha. I sent you the link for the amp top version that he sent us.
So cool.
That's one that just blew me away.
So I was watching his pedals for a while and talking to him about getting one, and then he posted. I mean, I think mine's number 140 something anyway, and he posted a picture of 2 of them identical for sale with one of the first rotary switches for the input cap that I'd seen on them, and I was like, I've got to have one of them. Got in there straight away.
Fantastic. Yeah, pretty cool stuff, and it's really great. I loved talking to him on the phone. Before we have guests on, I do try to have like, hey, let's get to know each other a little bit, so you don't just have a cold how do you do. And I mean, we were talking for like an hour, and I'm like, well,
he's so knowledgeable.
Yeah. Also, I don't want to say not self-aware. There's some people that are knowledgeable that are very self-aware, and he's just like, I just love doing this. It's fun, and I hope the stuff sounds cool. It's like that was his attitude. I'm like, okay, let's do this. So he's going to be on the show this week, actually.
I look forward to it.
So, number 3.
Number 3 is from my pal Adam at Chevtone Effects. It's the Messiah Drive. It's his Marshall in a box.
How do you spell? What is it? Cheftone?
Chevtone.
Chevtone. Okay.
Chevtone, yeah. Yeah, so it's basically his Marshall in a box, but it's beautiful. So inside it's got all, the Russian paper and oil capacitors, the large ones as well. He's the only guy I know that mounts them on a PCB. Fantastic. But it's just a great pedal. It's a great Marshall in a box, 2-foot switches. And when something sounds distorted and gainy, but very clear. So it's almost no gain whatsoever, but really gainy, if that makes sense.
I love that. And that's actually something that I found in the pedal that you sent me that's sort of the thing that I want. I don't want it to just sound like the effect. I don't want it to just sound like a wall of overdrive or distortion. If I dig in, I want it to sound like I'm digging in. If I'm not, I want it to be just kind of like sitting there. What is the pedal name again?
It's the Messiah Drive.
Messiah Drive. All right.
So MESSIAH.
Cool. Well, that's another new one. I'm following that right now. Bang.
So I'd just like to say that I hassled them, and I got number 1. They're very, very. So it's not PCB. It's in a different shape enclosure. It's hand painted and all of this. And he said to me, don't ever sell that because that's not the pedal. Don't let that get out. And I'm like, no, I'm having that. So I finally got that one.
That's fantastic. Yeah, I love when that's what it's all about. That's the things that we get excited about, that we're chasing. Jared and I each have one of Wooley's hand painted early Fettle boosts. It's like, man, that's brilliant.
I love his hand painted stuff.
It's so good.
So do I, man.
It's just a little bit more special. Red Noise, same thing. Got a hand painted one, and now they're all screened and everything. So when you do find somebody that you are interested in like that, and you run across and a lot of times it's guys who are just starting out, like, jump on that, support them, get those pedals, and because those are the ones that they're never going to make again, and there's no two that are ever the same.
That's kind of how I started to like pedals more than I ever have before, because joining this podcast, I found myself buying the pedal from these guys, not only because, it sounds good, but more so because it had more of a personal touch to it.
Yep.
And now I've got all these pedals and I'm like, oh man, I guess I'm becoming a big pedal guy now.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's really the magic that, Joe, that you've captured with Hello Sailor is that
Definitely
everyone is like that.
Oh, thanks very much. Yeah, I think I could never do the knocking them out one after another perfect every time. I could never do that.
Yeah.
You got sailors to boss around all day, man.
Exactly. I tell you what, if you ask my 13-year-old what his dad does for work, he'd pretty much tell you that. Tells people off in work all day.
Well, yeah.
What do you got for number 4 here?
Number 4 is the TrueFi 18-volt color driver. Yeah, so the old color driver, one of the very first drive pedals, made in Denmark Street, London. Them ones. It's their version of that.
Oh, cool.
Oh, nice.
So it's got like the treble and bass controls and the drive control. And mine's got a master volume on the side as well. It's all in like a unique enclosure. I ordered mine in candy apple red, but you can get all custom sparkle colors and all sorts. And just really well made. When you pick up something as a guy, you pick it up and you go, that feels really well made. Like,
yes.
Yep.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
I walk around the house with it, like weighing it up in my hand for quite some time before I ever plugged it in. Like, well, I really like this. Yeah, and that's my last one. It does like, pretty much almost clean. If you dial it back almost clean, just give your amp a little kick to right the way chaos, too much for the amp to handle, and everything in between. It's really more of a fuzz than an overdrive, but yeah. Great pedal.
So to be clear, this is the same TrueFi TRU-FI?
Yes, that's the one.
Okay, so I actually contacted them in 2018 and we went back and forth and then it just, didn't really hear much back from, which I think I was confused because it says in there in West Cumberland, Maine. And West Cumberland sounds a very UK kind of place, but Maine doesn't. So I was like, well, anyway. So maybe it was just like, hey, this is gonna be tough because I don't know. But I should.
They're definitely in the States.
Yes. Okay. Good.
Yeah, but it's a real good pedal. It's really unique, and all of their stuff is real quality. I got a couple of friends over your side of the pond who put me onto them. So a couple of people that I trust to direct me in my tonal direction.
It is it's an old school, all of their stuff looks very similar to each other. They're not like radically unique pedals amongst themselves. They're colored, but they all kind of have that early color sound kind of fuzz shape and all that stuff.
Yeah, and as far as I know, they're the only ones who have them enclosures. They're their own thing. Yeah. They're almost normal pedal size, probably a little bit wider, a little bit deeper, but they're their own. I couldn't buy their enclosures and make my own pedals, which I like. Yeah,
that's cool. That's cool. Man, oh man, how fun. What a great 4 on the floor. I was happy to spend as much time as we did there because, you are impassioned about the pedals that you have and you're excited about them and you're supporting those other people. And then, that's great to hear.
Thanks very much. I could have gone on. I very nearly put the Dudzik drive in there. It's one of my favorite pedals.
I think you just did.
Yeah,
I know. I cheated a bit there.
Cheater.
That was the absolute perfect 4 on the floor.
Yeah, 4.5 on the floor.
That's right.
So, Joe, let's get into the guts of why you're on the show. Aside from just being a fun person to talk to and a real, true supporter and enthusiast of not only the things that you're doing, but the things that everybody else in the community is doing. You have been very busy since we last talked to you. And I think not only in developing some new things, which you're going to talk about, but I could be wrong, but I feel like you have shifted your pedal build. When we had you on, you were playing in somewhat the same sandbox as a lot of people, but as far as like enclosures and just like how things are done. And then you just kind of like said, I'm going to do my thing over here. Does it feel like that's evolved? Am I getting that about right?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I just like to be a bit different. I've never been one to jump on the bandwagon, as it were. So yeah, I've kind of gone in my own direction, and that's took me wherever, whether that be enclosure shape, style, artwork design, circuit design, component size, or whatever. And then I kind of wandered into the amplifier world after building my first brown face deluxe amp, and then left that for a while. I sold it, missed it, decided to build myself a new one, and then I kind of got sucked into amplifiers big time. I went on a bit of a journey. It started with buying a 2-Rock, and then a Victory, and then I migrated to building my own out of vintage amplifiers, and that's where I'm stuck at the minute. Is squarely in the vintage amplifier area.
Those are relatively they're smaller amps, yeah.
Oh yeah, so I've been building Filmo sound amplifiers. So the old Bell and Howell projector amps. Mm-hmm. I think it's the 385 is the one that most people know, which is 1959 sort of time. But I found a load in the UK, Model 601s from 1948. So they predate the Tweed.
Wow.
So that output transformer is older than a Tweed Deluxe. And there's just magic inside them. I don't know whether the magic is dust and age or what, but they sound good to me.
Yeah.
But and of course, I can never do things normally, and because the amplifier chassis are so small, I mean, I'm looking at one on my desk now, and it's not much bigger than the Tweed Champ chassis I've got sat next to it. I mean, it's certainly shallower. It's not much longer than it. So there's no place for a tag board or a terminal board or anything like that. So it's all done point to point, which is another fun little twist.
Wow.
Sorry, Todd, go on.
Well, so you made one, you're making another. I mean, is the plan to just make a bunch of them, or are you still developing your own version of that amp?
Oh, well, I've sold 2 and I've kept 1 for myself. So I've made 3 so far, sorry. And then I also built another one that was out of new components that I sold this weekend, just gone.
Wow.
So I've got another 2 to do. I'm looking at one now on my desk that, I mean, it's a later model, so it's a 1951, so it's got an aluminium chassis. I could get right into it, which I'm not going to. But the output transformer was bad, which is the magic part, and I felt a little bit down about that. But because I'm an absolute gear hoarder, I bought an old amp. My wife hates it. I'm really sorry, love, if you're listening. I can't help it. I'm like a magpie. I'll go through eBay. Oh, that looks good and old. And then it gets stored in the house for 2 years before I touch it. And
yep.
Yeah.
I'm the same way. I've got so much stuff in the basement, so much gear. My wife doesn't even come down. She just stopped coming down to look.
Is that the trick? That's what you have to do?
That's exactly right. You scare them from coming to the basement where all the stuff is.
Yeah, that's a good shout.
Yeah.
So I had this 1940s Ampro Premier 20 film projector amplifier. So it's a dual 6v6 amplifier. So the output transformer and that, perfect. So I've just retrofitted that to it and bolted it on. It's a bit of a hodgepodge job because the aluminium chassis isn't really that strong. So the weight of the transformers was weighing on it. So I had to cut up some unnamed metal from work. Sorry, work, if anyone's listening. I'm not going to tell you what system that was from. so that's all screwed together now to give it a bit of strength. And that's going to be number 4. And then I've got one more Model 621, which I think is from around 1950 coming. And then that is me. Before I go, hopefully I'll be able to bang them out. Yeah. But they're basically a Tweed Deluxe. So when I first opened the ones I had, the power transformers were knackered. So I used a UK power transformer so we could use it over here. And then a lot of the components had drifted. The electrolytic caps had gone bad. And I like to keep things vintage correct. I would love to do that, like use the correct pots and stuff. But a lot of the stuff was failing. So I swapped it out for other vintage components. And that gave me the idea to strip it out and build my own amp, which started as a 5E3, and then I kind of migrated into a lot of the Dumble mods. I don't know if you guys have looked into, like, I think he calls it the Tweedle D.
It's a great name.
I know, what a great name. Well, I took some of them mods just to make it more pedal friendly. And I know a Tweed Deluxe is great with pedals, but I like a lot of pedals. And there was a lot about it I didn't like. So I stole some of Alexander Dumble's mods just to make it a bit more pedal friendly. That was really working out well. And luckily, the two guys who have bought them off me so far, well, I say luckily, both of them have been either in the industry or thereabouts. Like one guy does a lot of recording, and the other guy is real big on Instagram. And what's the new one that all the kids are into?
TikTok.
That's the one. I was going to say TikTok, but we'll go with TikTok. He's big on that, so he's got thousands of followers. He does some recording himself. And so I sent them both out, and I was thinking, in my head, these are the best amplifiers I've ever played. And I've owned a lot, I'm like, I buy and sell them almost weekly. But I was thinking maybe because I've built them, I'm thinking that myself. But both guys got back to me and said, oh my God, they're so loud for such a small, I think they're about 15 to 20 watts without measuring it. And they're so loud and clear and dynamic, you can pick lightly, it does nothing, you can dig in and it like goes rauc in your face. And that's exactly what I wanted. So it's kind of affirmation that they're not too bad.
Fantastic. I had a question. Since you've had the opportunity to work and replace components on vintage versions versus starting from scratch, building with new components, do you notice much difference between the vintage sounds versus the amps that you're making with new components?
With transformers, absolutely. So that output transformer, in my mind, and I'm sure there's amp guys who are listening now calling me every name under the sun and telling me I'm wrong. Maybe it may be in my head and it may be vintage drunk, but as Mick from That Pedal Show says, if it's in your head, it's real. If I can feel it and think it, then it's got to be real on it, because it is. So I think that output transformer makes a big difference. I don't know whether it's the materials that they add, maybe the magnets that they used or something. I'm not sure. There's definitely something about the old ones that sounds different. Whether that's better or not, I mean, that's up to you. I've noticed just changing the rectifier valve from a vintage 5Y3, like I got a couple of Kenrad ones, some real old 50s, lovely, but they put out less B plus voltage than the newer, say like a Sovtech 5Y3. So you get more sag, you get more sag. So it sounds more vintage, it sounds kind of browner, if that makes sense. Yeah. And then the newer valves, or if you were to put like, I don't know, a GZ34 in there, that outputs more voltage. So you're going to get a different, if it's going to feel different under the fingers, it is different. So, I think it definitely does. When it comes to things like electrolytic capacitors, I mean, I'm not that vintage mad that I would put old electrolytics in an amplifier, because you're just shortening the life of it. Then things go bad after a while. So you might as well use a nice set of F&Ts or Sprague or whatever.
I like that you are not being bound by your chase for the vintage correctness. I think that's pretty smart. That's how people do it with a lot of cars too. They're like, look, I want to make this as correct as possible, but I also want it to be able to perform in the realm of what today's cars perform in. And you're kind of doing the same thing.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to send it out to someone and it blows a electrolytic cap in a power section and they come back to me and said it's broke in like 2 weeks. I mean, you can't put a timer on that type of thing.
Yeah.
With that said, though, there are a lot of, like the silver Mika caps, the old, they call them domino capacitors, like little brown square capacitors. Them things last forever and they're really good. And I do test every capacitor I put in, new and old, just to make sure that they're not, passing DC or anything like that.
Right.
Anything like that.
Tony?
Todd?
Shut it. Some of the things I was thinking about on the way to the podcast today was like, I was trying to figure out like how much free time does Joe actually have? I mean, that's like a game show right there.
I have no free time whatsoever.
Well, you're building these on the ship?
On the ship or at home for the night while my wife and kids sleep.
Right.
Yeah. So if I'm duty on board, I'll either finish my duties or tell other people to do stuff. Not really. If anyone from work's listening, obviously I don't do that.
You should tell them. You should tell them to build amps and pedals.
Yeah.
I think it's also it's funny that you call it work. Like if anybody's listening from work, the Navy.
Well, yeah. So I'm in a fortunate position that there isn't too many people. Like I run my own group, so that I've only really got 3 bosses in my department after me, and there's only one each of them. So that I don't work for many people. So I'm fortunate in that way that I can manage my time on board. So outside of the normal Navy 16-hour day, I have my own time.
That's so you get like a day off. You do 2 days on, or what? No, how's that work?
No, not a chance. You do 16 hours work, 8 hours sleep, or whatever. It's kind of that routine. So them 8 hours sleep, I can go and build pedals.
Which let's just make sure you're not manning any big giant red button devices. How about that?
Yeah. I
was building amps all night.
I've got to the point now when I'm the guy who fills in the paperwork. I'm on the boring end of the stick. So I'm reminded the American guy who works for me. He's doing a job that I've just come from. Although he's the same rank as me, he's in the position below me, and he's always laughing because he comes up and shows me a spanner, or you guys call a wrench, and he says, "Do you remember what this looks like?" Like, you can't believe that.
And for back to our Smith reference, a sponge and a rusty spanner. That's what that is. It's a rusty wrench.
Yeah,
exactly. Yeah.
So let's see. When you are building these at sea, and we mentioned you're deploying for almost a year, which is why we wanted to rush and get you on the show. So when you are doing this, are you just bringing in like crates full of gear and parts and stuff? How are you managing to knock all these things out?
Pretty much exactly that. So I've got over in the UK listeners will laugh now. I've got a bag for life. So that's like a really, really, really strong carrier bag. It's not like a plastic bag that you get your groceries in. Yeah. It's like a super grocery bag. So I've got one of them with all my soldering iron in and other my meter and my transistor tester and all that stuff in that I take to and from work if I'm working at home or in work. And then I'll just take in boxes of components or bits of amplifier transformers, lug them all the way onto the ship if I know I'm going away. And then as I say, I'm fortunate enough that I've got quite a bit of storage on board because I've got my own group that have their own workshop, so I can squiddle stuff away and then just pull it out as and when I need it, which is quite handy. And thankfully, the guys in work are quite good. No one's going to come in and start messing with my components. They're all like, "Don't mess with that guy's stuff." No, it's good. Yeah, I'm quite fortunate that I can man 2 jobs at the same time for now.
That's pretty fantastic. Have you ever had to fix the ship?
With components from my pedals?
You probably could because they're big enough.
Well, I'll tell you the story, right? On our bridge of a Type 23 frigate, which is what I serve on, the guy who drives the ship, his little hand wheel, just below it, there's a little switch that takes it through to autopilot, they call it, or just normal navigation where you can control it. So they can set a course, flick the autopilot on, the ship will drive itself type thing.
Right.
And they fiddle with that switch. They fiddle until the nut comes loose and it drops inside and shorts something out. And they lost sort of simple as the washer and the nut off that switch. It's only a 4-pole double throw switch or something like that, 2-pole double throw switch. So I had to use one of my switches to fix it once while we were at sea because we couldn't get one for love nor money. And the boss actually come and see me, the marine engineer officer, my big boss, and he was like, "Chief, where the hell did you get that from?" And I was like, "Don't ask him." I just had one in my locker,
Yeah.
Right.
Meanwhile, on some other ships, some guys going like, "Where's the nut for this thing?"
Right.
Well, it works out well because a lot of technology is moving on. So when they upgrade parts of the ship, the older technology, which would be like point-to-point wiring, tag point wiring, old big capacitors and stuff, that goes in the skip. When it's not, if it's not like a permanent item, it goes in the skip and it's gone. And as long as it's touched the skip and gone in there first, I'm allowed to then go in afterwards.
Oh wow!
And get it out, so I can reclaim quite a bit of like old transistors and stuff, especially from like the tannoy systems and stuff like that. If you make friends with the comms guys, when they're throwing stuff away, they give you the heads up, and so that way it makes its way into some pedals here and there. I've actually stopped listing where all the components come from because I've completely forgot. I collect them up. I mean, going back to the R2R Electric Rangemaster, in the back of that, there's a list of the year and every component, where it's from, what manufacturer, the lot. And that, Chris is neurotic with that stuff, and I love that. But I'm not that organized.
Yeah. I get a kick out of showing people the back of that
free range.
I just know it as the suck it pedal. But I've probably unscrewed the back of that more than all of my other pedals combined, because I get such a kick out of showing people. I'm like, look at this. This is nuts.
Do you know, that is such a big enclosure, and I filled it. And when I finished, I opened it up and looked and like, oh God, that looks like it shouldn't work.
Yeah. Yeah. It literally looks like if you open up the back of a TV from like the 60s or 70s, and you're like, what? So
I love that stuff. I mean, one guy actually said to me not long ago, he said, I'm not trying to be rude, but your pedals look like an old amplifier that's just, soldered together by, whoever in the 1940s. And I was like, wow, that's the nicest compliment anyone's ever told me.
Yeah.
Thanks very much.
Well, and you did take the time to glue a lot of it too, like so that it doesn't wiggle around and stuff.
So nice. At the beginning, I had a lot of, especially going over to the States. I mean, I don't know if your post people play football with it on the way into shipping it, but I had a lot of stuff come loose and people saying, like the jack isn't even screwed on. Like, what? Why would I not screw a jack on? And the postal service out there really let me down a few times many years ago. So I've took to just adding a little bit of epoxy, just a dab here and there to make sure nothing moves.
Yeah. You've been doing a lot of Rangemaster type stuff also, known as treble boost. Is that, that's your sweet spot. Is that the most popular build that you've done?
I don't know if it's the most popular. A lot of people like the Kossoff drive, but I really, really, really like Rangemasters.
Yeah.
And I want to sell people on them. I mean, if someone says to you treble boost, you just kind of shy away from it as a guitarist, like everyone.
Yep.
But it actually cuts treble. It doesn't boost treble whatsoever.
Yeah, that's always been the thing. It's a big misnomer.
Bumps the mids.
Yeah.
Bumps the mids. And it actually cuts this. So if any of you guys are interested in on how a Rangemaster doesn't boost treble, my buddy over at Rocket Complex on YouTube, check him on YouTube and Instagram. Also, they've just brought out
Rocket Complex, all one word.
All one word on Instagram and YouTube, yeah. But it's the name of his band, Rocket Complex. And they actually just brought out a single called Freshen Up. And it's about the guy who sits in the toilets spraying aftershave on people. Fantastic. And they filmed it in our local nightclub, which coincidentally is where I met my wife. Not in the toilets, but yeah. So, but he filmed a video on the Rangemaster, and he analyzes it and shows you how it doesn't boost treble. It gives the mids a push, and he shows you different ways to use it. And he took a couple of my Rangemasters to film it. He's just a super, super knowledgeable guy and a great video.
Well, your Rangemaster is nothing to sneeze at, and I'm running drives into that as well as the Kossoff that it's paired with. So the brilliant thing about that, I think a lot of early treble boosters, you tend not to see the variable switches on them. It's just sort of like a sweep, kind of, here's more trebly, here's more, or here's more MIDI or not. And what I love about like the one that you built for me and the one from R2R is that it doesn't matter what other drive is going in or out of it, and or what kind of pickup you're using. To me, that's the real big thing, because you may have a sweet setting for something that sounds fantastic on a humbucker, but then if you go single coil, man, it sounds like a completely different monster, and maybe not at a good one. So the ability to switch that up and get those variable tones on command without just the sweep itself is really, really helpful.
Oh yeah, thanks. I mean, your one actually has an input transformer circuit, so it's basically a transformer wired as an inductor. So the germanium transistor in it always sees a guitar's pickup impedance. So that's how you can get away with putting.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say.
I mean, I'm talking like I invented that. My mate Stu over at Tate Effects, he gave me, or I was sort of almost there on that circuit, but I had all the values wrong and the type of transformer, and he kind of like give me his circuit, which was like an ultimate cheat sheet, and that to me makes such a great such a great start for the Rangemaster. I mean, as Rachel says, anytime you can add a transformer in the circuit, it's a good time. So I'll take that one. Oddly enough, though, the R2R1 doesn't have a transformer in it, but it still plays really well with everything I've thrown at it. So go figure.
Yeah, and it's remarkably simple. I opened up the back. I was like, "This is it," but it's like not that. I don't say that as this is it. There should be more. I was just amazed that the simplicity of it was able to do all that. But I guess that's kind of why everybody likes, the Rangemaster so much.
Well, because there's so few components, every single component matters. I mean, you change one thing and it changes the sound massively. Yeah. And I know that R2R Electric, Chris, will have sat there and measured everything, tested it. He'll have gone through countless amounts of potentiometers. I mean, I had a discussion with him where he was telling me he takes old potentiometers apart and swaps the insides of them for the ones with the values that he likes. I mean, that is getting right into it. And it's that attention to detail. I mean, I'm pretty sure he rates the potentiometer as being one of the most important components in the Rangemaster, which is a new one on me, but I'll take it. So, yeah, he's really puts them together well, which is what counts in that little circuit. I mean, if you're building something like a BD2 blues driver, that's a massive circuit. You change a resistor here, a capacitor there, it's going to be subtotal.
Interesting. Actually spoken with Tate Effects a couple times trying to get him on the show. And so, put a word in his ear, you know what I'm saying?
Oh, definitely. I mean, this guy he's a full-on pedal company. By the time I got into pedals, he was, putting them out there. Everyone knows him. He's designed his own circuits. He's got his own branding. His enclosures are all professional. He's doing everything perfect. He's a big guy. And then I happened to start speaking to him after going on a UK podcast. And he just sent me a pedal, sent me some circuit designs to try. Like super generous, real nice guy. I was literally a nobody. And he's just like, yeah, here's a free pedal. Here's the secrets to my circuit.
Wow.
It's definitely worth getting him on the show. And civilian wise, he's like an aircraft fueling engineer. He's super clever and knowledgeable himself, and he's such a perfectionist. He puts pedals up for sale as being seconds, and I'm looking at it going, it's better than my first. I can't see the mark he's talking about, but to him it's not perfect, so it can't go out.
Yeah. So as you're building these, are you just kind of like, are you getting a stockpile, or like, what's your turnaround right now?
Oh, so, I mean, it all depends on how much free time I get. But, okay, so I'll drill maybe five or six enclosures all at once, and they won't all be drilled the same because, I get bored. But I'll drill 5 or 6 of them together, and I'll finish them sorted at the same time, but in different finishes. Like, I've got the fabric finishes at the minute. So right in front of me, I've got one covered in peacock feather felt. That was done. And then the next one's the Hello Sailor badge in fabric. And I'll finish them, and then I'll build the circuits all together, although the circuits will be different. And then as I'm putting them together, I take pictures of them, put them on Instagram, and pretty much before the circuit's built and put together, I'll have someone message and probably take it off my hands, or there or thereabouts. Very rarely do I get to the point where they're actually listed on my reverb shop, and then people buy them from there, because
that's awesome.
They just seem to get snapped up. And I think it's because my building's so on and off. If I go to sea for a couple of weeks, I haven't built one for a while, I'll come back and build one, and someone's been waiting. They're right there to buy it. So I think that may be it. And of course, they're all one of a kind. So if you see a finish you like, there's no point in waiting about, because it's never going to come around again.
Well, that's where, you were pointing out that it could be that you're, haven't been building them for a while, but I would venture to guess that it would be because these are one-offs. There's not going to be another one like it. So if you do like it, you got to grab it. You have to. You're putting yourself so much into each one of the things that you're doing, and it's something that we're celebrating, really.
Well, thank you. I mean, even down to the transistors, I'll test them before they go in to make sure they're the correct gain, the correct leakage, obviously germanium, and so I'll go through them all. And if a good value comes up and I put it in a range master, that's never coming around again. It's a bit of history that's there in that one pedal. So
yeah.
Do
you have a cat in heat over there? What is that? I'm just kidding.
That sounds a lot like my daughter beating up my missus.
I'm the missus.
Yeah. Well, cool, man. So look, people who have not yet gotten hip with the Hello Sailor, if you don't have one of these yourself, you're hearing it right from Joe. I implore you to get one for yourself because it is handmade directly from him. It is a one-off. There are no two exactly like, and that's pretty special in the world of the things that we like. So highly, highly encourage you to get a hold of him and grab something. All right, Joe, if you don't mind, we're going to mosey on over to Jared's neighborhood real quick and do some of his stuff.
So now it's time for one of our favorite games on this show. I think it's the only game. And right. And here's a little jingle before we start. Would you rather? Perfect. So you're walking down the old street. You're welcome, John Esterly. And you realize, hey man, it's my birthday coming up. And let's say your best buddies, Todd and Tony, they're going to really go all out this time for your birthday because you're turning 40 or 50 or something like that.
Or something like that.
Yeah, let's say 40 because it's better than 50. So would you rather have good old Tony go to the store and buy a brand new Les Paul?
Doesn't have to be a Les Paul.
Guitar. It's just a brand new, fresh, factory fresh, everything stock.
That he thinks
brand new, shiny, awesome thing that he thinks you might want, right? Or would you rather have Todd save a few bucks, but he buys this awesome, gnarly, wore-in, used, who knows what it's been through, awesome Gibson Les Paul or something like that? What would you rather have? Would you rather have the brand new, untouched, nice stock, or would you rather have the used, been through the ringer type of thing, but it, still plays awesome and it's been through the test of time?
This is a very good one. Very, very good one. Tony Baloney, we're going to hit you first. Then we're going to sail across the ocean blue and see what Joe wants to do. Yeah. And then...
well, you keep rhyming like that.
I know.
Do you want me to give me answer and then save talking about my guitar until afterwards? Or
you can work it in there. Cool. Yeah. All right. So, Tony, go ahead.
All right. So, I mean, I guess this is always kind of a conundrum. If it's a older instrument that's been played a lot and worn in and worn out, sometimes it's a good guitar. I mean, somebody loved to play it and played it a lot. An old guitar that's mint condition and been put under the bed for 40 years, to me is either the player didn't know what they were doing or didn't play it, or it's not a great guitar. The shiny brand new one is nice too, but I think I'm going to go with the older vintage piece that's beat up a little bit, and for a number of reasons. One, for what I just said, if it's been beat up and played a lot, it's probably a good sounding and playing instrument. And two, I won't have to worry about scratching it or dropping it or bumping it while playing it and then having a big
Let's
tear
be
form.
honest, Tony, you don't worry about that anyway based on what's going on in your shop.
But I do put all my guitars in hard shell cases.
Yeah.
That's one layer of protection. But no, I think I'm going with the older piece, and I think that to me, that's just more my style.
Yeah. All right. Joe, how about yourself?
This is a dead easy one for me. I'm taking an old, beat up, battered, vintage, been through the ringer guitar. If I can make you cast your minds back to our last episode, the would you rather on that was the Joan Jett. Maker.
Yes.
It's either in the beat up condition that's been modified or the brand new vintage correct version. Well, not long after that show, I went to the London International Guitar Show for the very first time as Hello Sailor Effects. I had my own booth and all that stuff. And I was dying to get round and have a look at all the guitars, and I didn't get a chance until the very, very end. And the guys with me were all laughing, thinking I was going to buy like some vintage Les Paul Jr. because I'm obsessed with them. And I went round all the shops, all the stores there, and I seen an old Melody Maker. So it was literally a shell of itself. It had two P90s in it. It had one of them Leo Kwan badass bridge things on it. I don't know if you've seen them. Horrible looking thing. When I got it down, it had been oversprayed with black, like rattle can black into a base shape, sort of. And the back of the headstock had been sprayed, so I couldn't see the date stamp. And the tuners, in fact, were held on with one screw. You know, it's like the on the side type things. It was held in with one screw, but it was still, you know, when you strum it, it was ringing, and I was like, I'm getting this. I actually bought it off Joe Brandon from the Guitar Nerds.
Joe.
So shout out to him. It's Harlequin Guitars. They do like Japanese imports. Great guitar shop. But I strummed this thing once and I was like, I'm buying it. So I bought it on the spot. I thought it's a nice memento for my first show. I'm a massive Billy Gibbons fan, so it's kind of like his Melody Maker. And the question about the Joan Jett thing, I was like, it's perfect. So I took it back up to the stand, and all the lads are like, come on, let's see what you bought. I opened it up and they're all looking at me like, what is that piece of crap? But I got it home. It was sold to me as a 1961 Melody Maker. So I got it back and I stripped out the electrics. It had like a P100 pickup in it and stuff, and put all my own stuff in. And as for the spray paint, I took some real fine wet and dry and removed all of this rattle can, and I had the most beautiful burst ever. Lacquer checking, wear marks. You know, the back of their neck is perfect. And when I got to the serial number, I was fortunate enough to save it. And it's actually a 1960, a late on 1960. Nice. So second year production, Melody Maker. And that thing just resonates. You know, when you strum it, it's almost acoustic, you know, playing it up. I mean, I've got a Patrick James Eggle Macon special. Fantastic guitar, real nice guitar. Well better than I deserve. And then I play my Melody Maker, which looks like I've just found it in a dumpster for you American guys, or a bin if you're UK. And it sounds bright, lively, it feeds back. You know, it's everything that I want in a guitar. Nice big neck. And yeah, so I'm in answer to your question, I'm picking the old beat up one because they're always better. Yeah,
that is a pretty fantastic looking guitar. You guys can go check that out on Joe's Instagram on Hello Sailor Effects. Jared, how about yourself?
Super easy one. Definitely the older wore in. I mean, nothing's better when you grab a guitar off the stand at a guitar show and you put your hand on the neck and you run it up and down the neck, and it's like, I'm trying to avoid any lewd comments. Yeah. Yep. But when it feels right, it feels right. And basically the guitar to me is a whole new, it's like when I see an old used guitar like that, it's like cleansing the palate. You know, it's like you can do anything you want to the guitar from that point on, and it's not going to kill the value.
Yeah.
You know, if you buy something that's been painted on or refinished or just beat to crap, altered around, somebody put a bunch of parts on it thinking it would make it so much better, but it was already great to begin with. So yeah, that's a good, I'm definitely going for that. Give me something I can work with, and give me something I can have my buddies paint Speedboat purple, you know. So that's where I'm at.
That's cool. This is a really tricky one because I think if I'm getting it, if it's like a gift thing, part of me is thinking that like just for my own personal self, I've never had a new guitar that's just ever been mine. All of my guitars are been used, and when I say all of them, I don't have that many. So it's like the idea of, and with so many, builders out there that we've even talked to, I think I'd go for the new one. I love the idea of going to the shows. We all do that. That's why we get anxious and we get excited when we walk into a guitar show, or even just opening up Reverb or Craigslist or whatever used platform for guitar gear is out there. It's like, ooh, what am I going to find something? Am I going to find something that I fall in love with? Am I going to find something that no one else has that I can get first? That's exciting.
Yeah, let me support you on that too, because I've gotten the brand new things from the store as well, and there's a really good feeling of knowing that you're the first guy to put the first. It's like a new car. You get to put the first miles on that guitar. Yeah. So that guitar is going to morph into your own personality over time. Yeah. I think there's a lot of value in that as well.
Yeah. Well, and it doesn't even have to be from the store. I mean, stores,
whatever
we can go from the stores,
right.
but
order it straight from whoever.
Yeah. Straight from the builder. I think that's, I think that's an exciting thing. But yeah, I wouldn't sneeze at either one. So I don't think any of us would. And that's why that's why that's a tough question. So, excellent.
Todd, I hope you enjoy the brand spanking new Squier Stratocaster that Jared and I are getting you for your big birthday.
Oh my, thank you.
Brand new from the store.
I think I had to tell you one of them big wiggly sticks on it,
Yep.
Oh boy. All right. Well, that was fun. This whole thing's been fun, doggone, and that's why we do it. So,
how about me, Todd? How about me?
Tony, let's get you to do your thing. Step up to the mic. Spotlight on Tony.
Oh, thank you.
The audience draws to a hush.
Todd, did I ever tell you that I really appreciate you?
No.
Okay. Probably won't hear that.
Yeah.
At this point of the show, we like to thank a special group of people. These are our executive producers, and our executive producers are growing and growing. And this week we have a brand new executive producer. Now you might be wondering how you can become one. Head over to patreon.com/the guitar knobs and check out a couple different levels in which you can participate and become a sponsor, a patron of this very, very podcast. You guys help make it all possible.
That's right.
So, in honor of having a new executive producer, let's start from our newest and work our way backwards. We'd like to thank our new executive producer, Mr. Is it Elad Mazari?
The jury's out on that. He said, "Have fun pronouncing that." And I said, "Is it a long E or a soft E?" So let's just say it both ways, and then one of them will be right.
And yes,
Mizrahi.
Okay, very good. Thank you. Also, thanks to Rob Saxby, Gary Cooper, Douglas King, David Rancho, Jason Roush, John Jackson, John Williams, Ty Carmen, Richard Kendall, James Pennington, Liam Martin, Matt Hart, James White, Brett Alexander, Justin Jones, Doug Gann, John Esterly, Chris Heidel, Brad Partridge, Tyler Bray, John Anglin, Anthony Lathrop, Johnny Knowles, Stefan Lamb, Michael Senchuk, Brian Robinson, Ken Sayers, Michael Van Zant, Doug Christ, Darren Gregory, Chris Kearney, John Daly, Martin Cliff, and Tom Barazin.
Yep.
Yeah.
But wait, there's more. We have just a step up from our executive producers. We like to call them our Grand Poobahs.
The club on the skyscraper.
Oh, yes.
At the top.
The penthouse suite. So, in addition to all this great stuff, these Grand Poobahs get a special fez to wear as just kind of an extra thank you. So these special thanks to these grand poobahs, Mr. Jonathan Jerusik, Corey Nigro, David Kaminga, Cody Lane, Cody Foster, Sean S.
Yes.
Tommy Manasco, Mark Garton, Adam Johnson, Steve Keys, Tim Novak, and Tyler Raines. Thank you, each and every one of you.
Guess what, Tony?
What?
They just had their name read on the thing.
Oh, I forgot to ask what happens in addition to all the great stuff. Thank you,
right.
Jared.
Hey, can't miss it.
Well done, everybody. Joe, we were thrilled to have you back on the show and welcome you back anytime, my friend. Where can people find you?
Mainly Instagram. That's the best platform for me. If you've got any questions, comments, or even just to drop in and say hello and talk gear, I'm all over that.
Fantastic.
Awesome.
Tony?
Head over to pickguardian.com. You can see some of the stuff that I offer. It's available for sale on the website. But by and large, what I do is custom work. So shoot me an email. Let me know what you need. I will be very happy to take care of you. And if you want to check out some of the projects that we've talked about here on the show, go over to my Instagram, which is pickguardian and the number 1.
Awesome. Jared?
Oh, yes. If you have any pickups that are broken, no worries. Send them to Brandon Wound Pickups. BrandonWoundPickups.com. Go to the website. Check it out. I sell a lot of pickups too, like Joy's Noiseless Jazz Masters and PAF style.
P90s are out of control.
P90s, out of control. All that kind of awesome stuff. So check out all those things, and then also watch the Rewind Time with Brandon Wound Pickups. Go to the Instagram to look at a bunch of cool, weird stuff I've done in the past.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Jared. You can drop me an email, todd@theguitarknobs.com. You can also send me a DM on Instagram @guitarknobs. We'd love to hear from you. We need some would you rathers. And we are really just very grateful that we got to talk to Joe before he takes off for a whole year to serve his country.
It's been a pleasure.
Yeah.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Hey, everybody out there. Have a fantastic guitar week and subscribe.
Yeah.
Follow oh God, I've lost my train of thought there. I'm going to clap that one.
It was sort of serendipitous that Jared.
Yeah.
Yeah. We can hear it in. Finish up your eating and let's get it done, or else I'm done. Okay, good.
That was my last couple of nuts.
Yeah.
Girl.
Joe, I know this is riveting. Thank you.
Okay, so I love this.
If I could get a couple words strung together, this would be great.
You're throwing a wrench in the whole idea.
Exactly.
A spanner.
Hey, everybody. Let's take a 4 or 5 minute break.
Okay. Let's do.
That was a terrible start because I lost myself. I'll have another clap.
Hey, it sounds like me.
Well, I started talking. I was like, what the hell am I talking about?
That's me every day.
Where did I start on that last bit? Lost my train of thought then, waffling on.
Well, Tony, are you there?
I am here.
Hello, Todd. Where did I start on that last bit? Lost my train of thought then, waffling on.
Well, that's it for these knobs. Please visit our Patreon page at patreon.com/theguitarknobs. Visit our website at theguitarknobs.com for all of our past episodes, 4 on the Floor blog, and other good stuff. You can connect with us on social too at our Facebook page and share your gear and stories on our Facebook group. Also, be sure to check out our Instagram at guitarknobs. Catch you next time.